What's going on, everyone? Gentz here, and I'm coming to you guys with another edition of Knotty Thoughts. These are my brain dumps or ideas of particular subject matters. On this edition of Knotty Thoughts, we'll be talking about fighting game Salt. So while you're listening to this video, feel free to post your reactions to the topic at hand in the comments below. Now, before we dive into this conversation, I kind of give you guys like where this all came from. A few weeks ago, I was having a conversation with my friends about fighting games in general, and I was asking them if they saw like any of the new trailers or were interested in picking up any of the new fighting games that were coming out this year, specifically like Mortal Kombat 11, Dead or Alive 6, and My Spirits, even Jump Force, and they all kind of seemed to say no, and I really didn't understand why, so I had to ask, obviously. So I think what it ultimately came down to is Salt. Now, I can't say that Salt is a unique experience. If you play video games, you've felt Salt at some point in time, but I do have to concede that fighting game Salt is a little bit different. As my friends were talking, they all described for the most part that they don't have the patience to play fighting games anymore, and I didn't understand what that meant. They said they don't want to spend time learning combos or trying to play different characters until they find one that synergizes with their playstyle. And I kind of took that personal, because being someone that grew up on fighting games, for me, like once you find out that you enjoy fighting games, like that never goes away. Like no matter what your skill level is, if it diminishes or increases over time or between fight systems or different games, like the love is always still there. So the way they were talking made it seem like they didn't have that love anymore. So again, I wanted to know why. So in my usual fashion, I stopped talking and just let them do all the talking. And then what it seemed to be that turned them off was repeatedly losing online, latency issues, netcode, and eventually, their sweet pastime turned into a salty experience. So I figured this would be a good time to talk about fighting game Salt. Some people might know, or if you play fighting games, comes all in different varying degrees of coarseness, and more importantly, the measurements are important as well. So I've tried to break down different degrees of Salt, and you guys can let me know if I'm on point or if I'm completely off, right? So let's start off with the pinch of salt. This is like your base level of Salt, right? This would be someone like not giving you a good review after the match, not saying GG, not wanting to rematch you after losing one match. If you're on voice comms, they might hit you with a sigh or a whatever, or make a side comment about the lag. Maybe they message you about your character choice, calling you a noob or calling you picking the most broken character or whatever they want to say. These are the kind of things that are like the base level assault, things that shouldn't make you rage, or things that shouldn't be enough to tilt you. But if you get caught on a bad day with real life, and then you get faced with this, it might tip you over a little bit. Moving on to the next tier of Salt, I have the cup of Salt. These are when people give you sarcastic compliments like "you're the best" or "where'd you learn to play so well," usually often ending the compliment with a bro or a bruh. When they realize the character matchup isn't favorable anymore, and then they pick your character in order to try and humiliate you with your tactics. When they kick or ban you from the game lobby. This happens to me all the time. I'll join in somebody's lobby and then I'll win games, and then they get mad and kick me out. But then it's like, if I came in and lost, they probably would have been fine with me being there. When they report you for unsportsmanlike conduct, but in fact they're the ones behaving in an unsportsmanlike manner, this is probably what you'll see like the most times. Like people will get so mad that they just inflict their feelings on you and then make it seem like you're the bad guy and you're the one making them act out this way, when it's really just them being toxic. When they try and tell you that you have no life and that they're in more promiscuous relationships than you and can always lift more heavier weights than you, this is like the last line of defense for a lot of people. They're like, you might be better than me at this, but I'm better than real life than you. And it's like, oh, you got me. Good one. That never works. Finally, we have the last tier of Salt. This is the highest concentration of Salt. This is the ocean of Salt, the most plentiful amounts. There's an abundance of it. It's when I like to call this, when they call limp. I have a lot of times opponents will go limp, and if you're like rematching them and they just like won't push buttons and they'll just stand there, they won't move or they won't guard you, but you have to spend the whole time like low kicking them to death or like throwing them repeatedly just to get the match over with, because they don't want to disconnect and lose their ranking, or they just walk away and let you sit there and suffer through it. when they when they spam a projectile the whole match, this is when somebody is just like very they're done. They've reached their breaking point. So all they're gonna do is try to hit you with a projectile move repeatedly in order to try and catch you off guard or just be annoying. When they disconnect before you officially win the match, I hate this. Like, if you're somebody that spends time practicing combos and learning strings and all this stuff, and you finally like pull one off after all this time you've been putting in to learn it, and then somebody disconnects like right in the middle of it because they realize like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, or oh, you're that much better than them, like, that's it, man. Give me the dub, man. Just lay there and take it. Like, come on, like, be a man. When they repeatedly taunt or hump the ground, you see this all the time. You even see this on competitive level. So I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. That's all I can really say. When they send you a recorded voice message threatening your loved ones, I don't think I've gotten threats against family members. I've definitely been getting threats before, like in my 360 days for sure. When they send you a dissertation in your console messenger trying to assess your ethnicity and then immediately say whatever hurtful cultural slur they can think of to try and hurt your feelings, this one is probably the one I see the most of. Everybody is so quick to call somebody whatever offensive word they can think of in that immediate second. Sometimes they'll even jump the gun and they'll just assume you're whatever by your hashtag or your username or the character that you picked, that you're whatever race. I've seen this before on a live stream, so I know people are doing it out there. When they hop in your Twitch stream and begin to berate you or begin to commentate or stalk your every following match that you have afterwards, these people are stalkers, but sometimes they, eventually become donors or subs to other channels on Twitch. So there's, silver lining sometimes, but not all the time. When they create social media forums and private groups just to create a fan club that hates you, again, there's a lot of hate out there right now, so it's so easy for people to create forums and discords and Facebook groups just to hate you without really supporting any facts. But if there's enough people that talk a narrative that makes it seem like you're such a bad person, then it happens. When somebody refuses to play the game ever again, and this is where I'm putting my friends that were, complaining, they were frustrated that they're losing, they don't want to put the time in to learn and get better, so then they just quit the game and the genre altogether. It's not I don't see why people get so, it's like if you lose to somebody, you just lose, that's all. It doesn't make you a terrible person. It doesn't mean that you can't get better. It doesn't mean that you suck at the game. It just means you just don't have the same level of knowledge and information about the game as somebody else. But that's on them, I guess. I know that fighting games can be frustrating, but any obstacles you encounter will only bother you as much as you let them. If you're not comfortable in ranked leaderboards and matchmaking, then just keep your matches casual. Practice with the CPU at harder difficulties. Befriend people that have a better understanding of the game more than you. Let them teach you the holes in your game or necessary skills you're missing to make you a more competitive player. If you take the time to look for something positive or find a learning experience from every aggravating one, I'm sure you'll see fruitful returns in your own development and further appreciation of the fighting game genre in general. Turn that salt into fuel and charge up your batteries and get back into the dojo. Alright guys, that's my brain dump for there on fighting game salt. Let me know how you feel about it. Do you guys get overly salty? Have you seen any experiences that I didn't mention on this episode? Be sure to post it in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Spotify. Peace.